And this is Heather.
And this is Conspiracies Unlocked. This episode is called The Lost Dauphin Unlocked. The Lost Dauphin is the child of King Louis the 16th, as well as Marie Antoinette's son. Heather, take it away.
So, Louis Charles de France, famously known as the Lost Dauphin, was born at the Palace of Versailles on March 27th, 1785. He is the second son of Louis the 16th, and as you said, Marie Antoinette.
Let them eat cake.
Let them eat cake.
That's all I think about whenever I think of Marie Antoinette.
It's a very famous line from... Yeah, she was like so out of touch with reality.
Well, she was so young when she was given to King Louis the 16th.
She was very young.
She was like 14?
Yeah.
According to the movie that I saw with Kirsten Dunst.
She was very young. So
we should rewatch that movie.
I love that movie, actually.
I've only seen it like once or twice, and I think I was too young to like really enjoy it. I want to watch it now that I'm older.
We should definitely watch it again and see if we can see any like I don't know,
like see this happening.
like if we can actually see the whole demise of this child.
Yeah, it is it's like a
but I don't think it doesn't cover it, though. It just covers, like, the wild parties and lavish lifestyle that they lived. And how out of touch with reality of the French Revolution that they really were at the time. Because this is during a French Revolution where their people is basically rising up against them to try to push them out of power because of how they were basically... not mistreated, but they didn't have basic needs.
Yeah, they weren't getting the basic needs. I remember that.
Yeah, they didn't have food and water.
And they were just like having parties and not giving a fuck. And they were just like in their little kingdom, just like in their palace.
Yeah, like out of touch with reality completely with what was going on with people in their land.
So apparently you can only rent right now. Marie Antoinette is only available to rent on like Amazon Video. And
well,
Apple
I have
TV.
a fun fact for you.
You have the DVD in the box that's supposed to come to me?
Yes, I do.
No way!
I do, I swear.
The box that supposedly is a thing. Okay, well, we'll see whenever I see it.
It's a real box,
I don't believe it, but that's okay.
So those that do not know, Jenna has a house in the desert, and because it's in the desert and where it's located, she can only watch DVDs because she can't. There's no Wi-Fi,
internet, yeah, and I don't want to get Starlink yet.
So I have this big box of DVDs because we no longer really watch DVDs. I have a DVD player, but it's not even hooked up anymore.
Yeah,
we just stream everything. So I was gonna take them to the Goodwill or something.
Yeah, and then I was like, no, I'll take them. So this mysterious box of DVDs that I don't think really exist anymore have been promised to me.
And that movie's in there.
For months and months and months. So, we'll never see that box.
You will, I promise. So let's get back to the story. So, Louis Charles de France spent his short years in the Palace of Versailles with his parents. His mother, Marie Antoinette, was the last queen of France before the French Revolution. She was actually born in Austria and married at the age of 14.
Wow, yeah. Like, I knew it was very young. Can you imagine being so young? And then you know that just right away she had babies. It's not like they just... It's like she was a child having children.
It was normal back then. People only lived to like their 30s.
That's true too. So I guess you might as well have kids.
Yeah, otherwise you would never have children.
Yeah.
So when she was married at the age of 14, she became Queen Consort of France. And that was on May 10th, 1774, when her husband, Louis XVI, became king. So they were married before he was king. And then their marriage solidified, that she was queen consort. In June of 1789, Louis Charles's life changed dramatically when his eldest brother, Louis Joseph, died, which made him the new Dauphin, which is the heir to the French throne.
Wow.
So they did have children, and the eldest son died. And then that's where this kid comes into play. And now he's next in line.
Could you imagine now you're like 24 and you're now widowed? Not even 24 probably.
Oh, yeah.
Like way younger, widowed. That's it.
Yeah. Well,
So
no,
sad.
her son died. Not her husband yet.
Oh, I thought her husband died too.
No.
Okay.
Well, her husband...
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. No, not yet. He does die, but not yet. So, this is just like the children. So...
Okay.
He held the title until 1791, and then they had a new agreement, and in this new agreement, and this title would be changed to Prince Royal, which is meaning that he is heir to the new monarchy.
Mm-hmm.
So, as the chaos of the French Revolution unfolded, he ascended to the position of the Dauphin, symbolizing the hope and continuity in a kingdom that was starting to collapse. Because, like we were saying, like in the movie, everything around them seemed like it was so perfect in their world, but everything was
reality,
literally collapsing.
It's almost like what's happening in America right now, I feel like just everybody's up in the White House just chilling.
Yeah, everything is just
all happy. The 1%ers are just like, everything's great, and we're out here like
everything's just dandy and perfect.
Yeah.
And we're like scraping over here to buy gas. And
and it's like freaking dumpster fire out here. Going into like into George Orwell's 1984 dystopian freaking world.
For sure. So
cars driving itself and shit.
No, well, they aren't driving themselves.
They are in San Francisco and in Phoenix.
What cars?
They're like Uber cars. They come pick you up and there's nobody in them.
I thought
it's called like Waymo or something.
Are they made by Tesla?
No, different.
Oh, okay.
Different.
Because the Tesla ones were having a lot of autopilot problems. And,
Brad saw one. And he looked over and the chick was like swerving. It was a Tesla, kept slamming on brakes, swerving all over the place. He looks over and she's sitting there on her phone, like not even, like totally looking down, not even looking out, no hands on the wheels, just like chilling, like might as well be taking a nap.
Wow.
And the car was just all over the place, like almost hitting other cars, and she's just oblivious.
That is so scary. See, for me as a driver, and then I guess my like OCD controlling personality side of me, I would not be able to handle that. I have to be in control of the vehicle. Yeah,
it's called Waymo self-driving cars. And it's literally, there's nobody, like you don't even sit in the driver's seat. And they have, I can speak, I swear.
Autonomous vehicles.
Yes, and so it's self-driving car service, ride-hailing in Phoenix, Arizona. And then, it says LA now too. It was only it started in San Francisco. Wow. But isn't that crazy that, so could you imagine your Uber driver coming up to pick you up, and there be no Uber driver?
Is there like a little robot on the front that like turns and looks at you and says, "Hi, where do you want to go?" Like a little AI thing?
Because you've already called them. You've already hailed it. It's on your phone, right? You don't tell the Uber driver where you want to go either.
No, that's true.
They already know. So what I'm thinking is that right there is going to take away jobs of Uber drivers. In 20, 30, 40, 50 years, there'll be no more taxis. There'll be no more drivers. Everything will be like, it'll be like the freaking Jetsons, except on the ground and no drivers.
Do you think that they'll take over trains and planes and stuff with AI?
Planes are already like pretty much self-operated. It's autopilot, right? That's been happening for years, and
like with no pilot at all, you just climb on board.
I hope not. That's so scary.
That would be terrifying. I don't think I would be able to get into a plane if there was no one sitting there, just even pretending they were doing something.
Right? Exactly.
I just want you in the cockpit. I don't care what you do, just be in there.
Pretend like you're doing something. Yeah.
Or at least if something happens with anything.
I definitely think like the coaster, the trains are for sure. Like nobody does the coaster, I don't think. Like the little trains, the Amtrak and stuff.
The only thing is I think boats, they would still have to have a captain.
I feel like boats and planes because
but the water,
there's no roads, lines. So the cars can see lines, right? And the trains are on a track. But, like, the boat is just, like, water. So unless it's really good, like, GPS navigational type thing somehow.
But I'm thinking, too, about, like, how big the waves get out there. You get, like, rogue waves.
I don't think there'd be any way. Same with turbulence on a plane. There's too many, like, variables right now. Maybe in the future, but I don't think so right now. I don't know. It's going to a very weird world. And, like, even the Carl's Jr., up the road, you go there, and there's nobody taking your order. It's an automated system.
Oh, they have that at Wendy's, too, now.
And then up north somewhere, there's a McDonald's that has nobody working in there. Like,
well, they have to make the food.
No, machines are making the food. Machines are putting together the sandwiches. So those jobs are going to be taken away. Fast food workers and Uber drivers are going to be gone.
And customer service representatives and all of that.
Oh my gosh, they're already gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like all these jobs are leaving. We're turning into like a dystopian world where like nothing, like there's going to be like such poor people or very rich people. There's going to be no middle class. And the poor people are like, there won't be any jobs for them to have anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And everything will be controlled.
They're going to have to stick to, like, basic stuff like farming and...
even then.
Yeah, even then, yeah.
They already have machines to do all that.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that crazy when you really think about it, like, what's going to be like in 100 years?
So everybody needs to just learn how to do everything with tech and computers and...
Or you need to learn how to farm yourself and just get a plot of land and live out there and hope that you don't get taxed on it and... Even though you will get taxed on it, but...
No, you will, but...
Hopefully you get enough money where you can pay the taxes.
Live off the grid and have your own
so many
homestead,
people are doing that. Yep.
Homestead.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's just a lot.
All right, go back to your thing.
So...
That was a random tangent rant.
Well... We were talking about the collapse of the kingdom because of the French Revolution. And during this time, tragically, Louis XVI died. He was the king. He died on January 21st, 1793, at the age of 33 in Paris.
Wow.
So...
How did he die? Did you look into that, or you just didn't even...
I'm not sure how he died.
I'm just wondering if he was murdered,
I want to say it could have been the White Death.
Yeah, okay.
But he did die at the age of 33 in Paris.
He looked so old. Look how old he looks. He's depicted as this, like, old man.
Well, we can't really show you what the picture looks like.
Yeah. He has, like, the little white curlers and everything in his hair. He looks like George fucking Washington.
I'm pretty sure that's a wig.
Yeah, but it looks like George Washington. Why wouldn't you just stick to brown hair or whatever hair you had? So weird.
It is weird.
He looks just like George Washington.
Maybe they're a descendant or something.
Okay, go. Next.
I don't know. So at the age of 8, Louis Charles became the uncrowned king of France.
Oh, no, he was publicly executed.
What?
Louis the 16th, former king of France since the abolition of the monarchy, was publicly executed on January 21st, 1793 during the French Revolution at the Place de la Révolution in Paris.
Okay, so he was executed.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, go. White Death would have been the next cause. Cause
I was just curious, like, how long they really did, like, he just died at the age of 30 of old age, you know, for that time. Like, God,
execution does make sense because they were...
That does speed up the death rate a little.
Also because they were not very well liked, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
So, this made Louis Charles become the uncrowned king of France, and then he became he bear the title of Louis the 17th. The revolution soon engulfed him and his family alongside of his sister Marie Therese, I think I pronounced that wrong, who was 14 years old at the time. Louis and Mary faced a harrowing ordeal of imprisonment alongside their mother Marie Antoinette. And I should note that he also had the other siblings, but before his father died, they died. So the eldest brother was Louis Joseph, and he died in 1789, and he was 7 when he died.
Aww.
And then Sophie Helene Beatrix was also known as Madame Sophie. She was the youngest daughter, and she died at a very young age, like before 1, or like maybe 1 year old. And that was in 1787.
That's so sad.
So when Marie Antoinette was faced with like the next chapter that's going to happen, her husband died and 2 of her children had died. Mm-hmm. And as you said, her husband was executed.
Yeah.
And 2 of her children died.
And now they're in prison together.
Well, now they're not in prison together, but they're getting to that point where they're going to give him the ultimatum.
Yeah.
So this is the darkest chapter of Louis's story. It started to unfold on July 3rd, 1793, when guards forcibly separated him at the age of 8 from his distraught mother, Marie Antoinette. She would not give him up to the guards for hours. She pleaded and she cried and she begged and she resists the separation with the guards. This was her only living son, and he was heir to the throne. He was going to be the next king. Mm-hmm. And that's when they faced her with threats and the ultimatum to both children's lives. So she only had her daughter and her son. Yeah. So she ended up giving in, and they took him and allowed her to keep her life and her daughter's life. And they spirited him away. So also at the time, you have to think that women really didn't have a value unless you were making babies and you married into somebody with a title. Like she wasn't really anything until she became his wife. Mm-hmm. And then her whole role was just to make babies. Like the queen, your job is give us a male. Yeah. That's it. So
an heir and a spare.
She already fulfilled her job. Yeah. Her husband was executed. Her other 2 kids were dead. They're like, do you want us to kill both of your kids and all of you? Or do you want you and your daughter to live?
So sad.
So later, the daughter, Marie Therese, I don't know if I'm saying that wrong. Therese? Yeah. Marie Therese later said, they threatened the lives of both him and me, and my mother's maternal tenderness at the length forced her this sacrifice. Mm-hmm. So Louis was imprisoned alone in a dark, windowless temple and treated like a rabid animal in a cage. Mm. He was severely abused, he was neglected, he was starved, and he only was sustained by small rations that they would just put through the iron bars. He never saw sunlight, and he was living in horrible, deplorable, disgusting conditions. Mind you, this kid is 8. Yeah. The circumstances surrounding his demise really, remain cloaked in mystery. Official records of his passing, which was documented on June 8th, 1795, stated that he died in the Temple prison from tuberculosis, which is also known back as the White Death or the Great White Plague, due to the extreme anemic, unhealthy, pale appearance of those infected. So that is one way, because remember, this is all about how did he die. Well, there was a plague going on. He could have died from that. But that would have been at age 10, so he would have only lived in prison for 2 years.
Long.
I know, it's so long.
Solitary confinement just by yourself.
For a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. And for an adult. For anybody.
So he was 10 years old, and there was so many rumors going around. There was rumors of neglect, foul play, murder. I mean, this kid's going to be the king. Why wouldn't they just murder him and say, oops, he drowned, or, he choked on... I mean, they could make up anything. But then it even went as far as people thought that there was a whole escape orchestrated, and that they spirited him away to somewhere else, and another child was put in his place. So that the whole 2 years, it wasn't even him, it was someone else.
Which would be interesting, because how did TB get into the cage with him?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Unless he was swapped out with another kid who had TB anyways.
Yeah, he could have been swapped out. It was widely believed in both France and Britain that the Committee of Public Safety, which was the radical governing body of the revolution, had murdered the child. Had murdered him.
Wow.
So that was like the top thing, is that they thought that the Committee of Public Safety actually murdered him. That's what everybody was believing. Would make sense.
And then they're just like, oh, it was TB. That sounds great. Like, let's just say that.
Mm-hmm. So a doctor who had been summoned to treat him died mysteriously a week before the boy's death. Oh. So, because they did have doctors that would go in and check on him.
Oh, okay.
Even though he was abused, neglected, and starved, they still had a doctor periodically go in and see him. The doctor's widow hinted that he had refused to take part in some irregular practice on the child. But we don't know what that was that they wanted the doctor to do to him. Mm-hmm. Rumors continued to spread like wildfire, and in 1814, the historian of the newly restored French monarchy announced that Louis Charles had escaped and was actually still alive.
Oh, good.
So that's in 1814. Now he
would be 30 years old at that point. 1780 something to 14.
So they said that he died on 1795, and he was 10 years old. Yeah. And then in 1814...
So 20 years later, so he'd be 30 years old.
Yeah. So...
They're saying that at 30 years old, he could still be alive somewhere.
He could still be alive somewhere. They actually did not reveal his location, but the most common rumor is that the royalists substituted another child in his place. Like a long time ago, substituted the child like almost immediately.
Yeah, that would make sense for Marie Antoinette to be like, fuck this, get my kid out of there now, and then swapped him out.
And they took him to America, where he would be safe.
Oh.
So that whole time he was never in the tower, he was in America.
Wow.
But Marie Antoinette and her daughter were still there, dealing with, the aftermath of everything they had to deal with, but he was safe.
Okay.
In a way, okay? So now the intrigue deepened with the revelation of discrepancies during the exhumation of his body.
When did they
exhumed his body, or the body, in 1846.
Okay.
Which
is like 130 years later, 120 years later, now they've exhumed the body.
Which casted even more doubt on the identity of the buried child. Over all of the decades, numerous claimants came forward, each reporting to be the lost prince. So now all these rumors,
it's almost like the Anastasia thing.
They're like, no, I'm the prince. No, I'm the rightful prince. They want to become the king.
Yeah.
They want to be.
Now it's all over. The dust has settled, and hey, I'm back. I'm the real king. So.
And obviously, this is before they exhumed the body. This is just going through all the motions, right? So later in 1846, authorities did decide to exhume the mass grave where the child was buried. And yes, you heard that correctly. It was a mass grave full of bodies just thrown in there.
I couldn't even picture, I don't know, but you would think that even though they hated him and even though they wanted him to die or whatever, that they would have given him his own hole.
You would think that the future king of France would have
something
a royal
else. Well, no, not even a royal anything, just by himself. Mm-hmm. Just even though, because I wouldn't expect a huge ceremony because they were so mad at the whole process, which is so stupid because he was so young. It's not like he had any say in it. Yeah. So in this mass grave, there was only one child that somewhat fit his body's description. Out of the mass grave, there was only one that somewhat fit his description.
and showed evidence of tuberculosis, which was the official cause of death given. So they had to find a body that had tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it didn't add up. The body that they did find, the only one, was that of an older child, middle to late teens, that had already cut a wisdom tooth.
Oh, and that doesn't happen until you're 12.
So the wisdom teeth are the final teeth to erupt, and typically erupt between 17 and 21.
Oh, that late?
They can come earlier.
I thought it was 12.
It's
later?
It's
Maybe
later.
it is later.
It's about 16, 17, not
That's
12.
So weird. Hi, I'm 18 and I'm teething. I don't remember that.
Well, you have your 12-year molars, but those are not your wisdom teeth.
Oh, no.
Those are your 12-year molars. So, which didn't add up because he would have only been 10.
Yeah, that's way too young.
After word went out and the rumors and gossip grew.
So he definitely got out.
Yeah, over 100 men, remember, go back to the...
Yeah.
Over 100 men came forward claiming to be the true prince. And who was supposedly never imprisoned, and they had all different tales coming forward saying why they were and how they were, and they had all these elaborate tales of,
you would think that
I came from America and now I'm back, and because that was one of the rumors, and just whatever.
Wouldn't the sister be able to recognize him?
Probably, but I think they didn't really believe any of these men that came forward. There's just 100 of them came forward. So this is not where the story ends. The mystery only deepens as his heart bared witness to the untold suffering and embarked on its own odyssey spanning over 2 centuries. His literal heart.
Yeah.
So you see, Philip Jean Pelletan was a doctor that did the autopsy, and he was horrified to see hundreds of scars which covered the boy's body, mapping out years of abuse at the hands of, potentially, if this is the right body, the royal guards and the royal family who imprisoned him.
But years, that would almost be too much.
Yeah, because he was only reportedly alive for 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
And he was 10.
What if he wasn't? What if he was actually alive, they kept him alive, and they just said, oh, he's dead, but they really tortured him and kept him alive for another extra 8 years or something?
They could have. He had suffered physical mistreatment, and the amount of mistreatment that he, like broken bones and all different things, would have been enough to cause his death.
Okay.
So, not the reported tuberculosis. So it's basically like one theory is that if this is the right body, that he was tortured, abused, and beat to death, not tuberculosis. Mm-hmm. So, like you said before, how would he even get tuberculosis since he was in isolation in a temple?
Yeah.
So that also didn't really add up with the whole, this is his body and he has tuberculosis. And then for people that don't know, tuberculosis is known as White Death or Great White Plague. It is a person-to-person infectious disease caused by the bacterium Macrobacterium tuberculosis, and it is spread by coughing and or sneezing. And he was not around anyone for at least 2 years, if not longer, according to his imprisonment timeline.
Yeah.
It doesn't, unless the person who was passing him food could have had it and like coughed on the food or something. Like if the food could have been tainted. But I don't know if tuberculosis like can
I think it has to on food. I think it has to be airborne, so it has to be like cough to cough. Like I cough on you and you breathe it in as I'm coughing out.
Yeah. So it's just not adding up. So did you know this? Here's a question. Did you know that in French tradition, the royals' hearts are cut out and preserved almost immediately following death?
Like everybody, not just like
royals,
kings?
just royal hearts.
Okay.
So, which leads us into a 200-year journey of Louis's heart.
So even though they didn't like him, they put him in this supposed mass grave, they cut out his heart?
They would cut out the heart regardless. They cut out all of the hearts. That's something that they consistently do, even if you're beheaded or whatever.
Okay.
They cut your heart out. So,
I wonder why.
I don't know, but that's giving me Snow White vibes.
Yes, that's why I was like, no, I believe that because it's Snow White, and that was supposed to be in France, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I just remember, like, the whole cut the heart out thing. So, going back to the doctor that did the autopsy. So, it would have been Dr. Philip Jean Pelletan. He cut out the royal's heart during the autopsy. It was not placed in the royal tomb at Basilica of Saints de Denis, as it should have been, where all of the other royal hearts would have been placed. Mm-hmm. Instead, the doctor smuggled his heart out after the autopsy and kept it in his possession.
Oh, wow. That's not supposed to happen.
Yeah. So this was done in good faith, as the doctor was feared that it might be stolen during the ongoing French Revolution. So he did it for a good reason. Mm-hmm. He stored the heart and distilled... he stored the heart and distilled wine to preserve it. The wine did eventually evaporate after about 10 years, but it kept the heart dry, and it still kept it, preserved. Somehow, the heart later found its way into one of his students' care, so the doctor's students' care. Gosh. And presumably it would have been stolen from the doctor. The student later on the student's deathbed, with remorse, said where the heart was and asked the heart to be returned to the doctor. It was then sent to the Archbishop of Paris, where it was held in a transparent crystal urn until the palace was attacked in the Revolution of 1830. The doctor's son found the urn smashed and broken and retrieved it, and the royal heart was once again safe and now had to be moved to another location for preservation.
Oh my God.
Okay.
What a nightmare.
So by 1814, the monarchy had been restored, and the presumed heart of the Dauphin was sent to the Bourbon family, which was a Spanish branch of the family. Okay. Here is where it would stay until, for unknown reasons, the family decided to return the heart to Paris. They're like, okay, we've had this long enough. Send it back to Paris. We don't want it anymore. So Louis Charles's heart had been traveling around the country for 200 years. 200 years. The journey through the Revolution and Restoration, the heart was finally placed in a crystal vase in the royal crypt of Saint Denis Basilica until 1999.
Oh my God.
Now we're getting into Y2K vibes.
Wow,
people.
We're hitting the millennium.
Yes. Okay, so now 1999. Yeah, even in death, the specter and uncertainty looms large. Scientists did a DNA analysis in 2000, the year 2000.
That's so awesome. It's like forensic files.
Yeah, on the heart of the boy who died of... Now we're saying on the heart of a boy who died of tuberculosis.
Okay.
Is it his? We don't know, because at this point...
You just know that it's a boy that died... You just know that they died of tuberculosis, or had tuberculosis, but they... Yeah. They probably died from the injuries they had sustained?
Yes.
But, okay.
While in prison cell.
How are they going to do... Okay, just go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here we go. A sample of the heart was compared. You know what they compared it with?
The descendants?
A lock of hair taken from Marie Antoinette as a child.
Why do they still have that?
I don't know if they had it. It's probably was in a museum somewhere or something.
Oh my God.
So this linked the heart to Marie Antoinette. So and it was a match. But it fails to conclusively state that it was that particular son's heart. But it was someone who was related to Marie Antoinette.
But they can't say if it was a child, like a child, like
but
her
it's
child.
Like, who else's heart would it have been? The eldest brother was already long dead, and the husband. I mean, unless it could only be the husband's or her.
It wouldn't be
son.
the husband. The husband doesn't have her DNA.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the husband, so it would only be either the first son or the second son.
Yeah.
So it had to have been
So he never got out.
Yeah, so the test only could prove that the two are related, but not that it was her son, the royal prince.
What if? How did the first one die? What if that was the first one, and that's why he was so much older? What if they had already stolen him? And they just said he was dead, but really...
I think they would have had, like, a whole funeral and stuff for him and everything.
True, yeah.
So... Yeah, so what do we think? That's the end. The end is that it came out with the lock of her hair.
So most likely it was, and he never got free. It's just like Anastasia, where they thought that when Rasputin came for Anastasia, the princess, Anastasia, how they were like, oh, maybe and they like murdered the whole family, like execution status, and whenever they exhumed all the bodies, they couldn't find her, so they always thought that she had gotten away somehow, and then they found out a few years ago they like exhumed more of the bodies, or they found more, and they found hers.
Oh wow!
So she never got out, but there was always like
that possibility that maybe
she got out somehow. She survived.
It's really sad.
So just like it's the same thing. Both of them, they didn't get out. They died because of their families, and they're so young. But because their family's royal and fucked up, they had to suffer.
They did suffer. So the question is: so could the young Dauphin have really been spirited away to America and replaced with another boy who was a relative of Marie Antoinette? What if she had a little brother or cousin or something?
Or a nephew. Yeah.
I don't know how the DNA would work. Do these tests prove that the lost Dauphin had been found after 200 years?
Well, and back then, everybody was fucking everybody. I think everybody was related.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, there's a lot of incest.
Even in the early 1900s, like, wasn't Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, weren't they like second cousins or something?
I don't know, but I would not be shocked if they were.
Yeah,
especially
there's a
lot
back
of that
then.
going on to keep the bloodline royal.
Yeah, the blood pure and everything, and that's why there was all those deformities and shit.
And then we do have to say, without preservation of this heart by Dr. Philip Jean Pelleton, this story would never be possible. Thank you, Doctor.
Rest in peace. Everybody listed, rest in peace.
Exactly.
Everybody, and that whole story is long gone.
Yes.
All right, well, that was interesting.
I can't believe they had a lock of her hair, though.
Yeah, that is spooky. All right, well, thank you for listening, and don't forget to
share, like, and subscribe.
And email us at conspiraciesunlocked@gmail.com. Bye!